I don't know. Maybe it's a good night for this. I don't know. Welcome on a Tuesday night to Loud and Nerdy. My name is JW Colwell. Joined as always by my cohorts in crime, Kyle Defina, and of course Jerry Kamora from his basement and the band Slapjaw. I'm sorry, folks. I have had an interesting 10 minutes with just technical shit going on our end, but theoretically we're good. Okay,
Ken's up.
everybody's fine. We're all good then.
Facebook's good.
Okay.
Facebook's good.
Good evening, Ken. Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining us. I think I won a buck this week, but we'll talk about that later. We've also lost some Hollywood legends this week, including one today that I didn't think was going to impact me as much as it has. Like it's kind of a weird. Like I was thinking about it, and it's like I don't know. I didn't know I was going to be this sad about it, but
I will preface
this
with
guy
this.
who I grew up with, this man right
Hi,
here,
Jerry.
Joe Flaherty, passed away. He was on SCTV, and he's been in a bunch of movies and television shows. This, of course, is Guy Caballero. If you grew up watching Second City television, and if you didn't, I'm sorry, but we're going to talk about it for a couple minutes. This was one of his characters. He was the head of the network. And then this character, Count Floyd, who hosted a children's show, but was also kind of like a little off. And then just to give you an idea, that it was appointment viewing. It was like it was on Showtime. It was all over the place. It was such a great show. It was a comedy show that if you paid really close attention to and watched, many people at the time thought it was funnier than Saturday Night Live. You know what I mean? Like, there are some sketches on that show. But look at the talent that went to collect the Emmy for writing that it won. Look at the people on stage. Eugene Levy, Dave Thomas, John Candy, and Joe Flaherty. So I'm a little sad because he was really funny. Now,
Dave Thomas made a hell of a hamburger.
Yeah, he did.
different Dave Thomas. Put the drink down. Younger viewers might know him from this. He's the guy that taunts Happy Gilmore and is hired to taunt Happy Gilmore in Happy Gilmore. But he's been in a lot of stuff, and he's just one of those comedic actors that you don't realize how gifted he was. Now, apparently he was really sick. He was 82 years old, so it's not a surprise or a shock. But I when I read about it, he apparently he spent the last few moments with his daughter where they watched 40s and 50s movies. And one of the things she said about her dad was his insights into the golden age of cinema didn't just shape his professional life, they were a source of endless fascination for me. And these last few months, as he faces health challenges, we had the precious opportunity to watch many of those classic movies together, moments I will forever hold dear. That's the thing. He knew all about, like, he played on SCTV, he played Kirk Douglas, Richard Nixon, Art Garfunkel, Gregory Peck, Alan Alda. He had numerous characters on the show. But he was always super smart. He's from Pittsburgh, PA. He was super smart about movies. The reason the sketches that they did about movies were so good was because he was in love with movies. And I just think it's really interesting that in the last moments of his life, he was watching movies with his daughter. And it's something like, I think that's every nerd's dream, right? Like, if you're finishing up on The Rock, you're going to want to watch the stuff, So I was thinking about it. Is there a movie that you would want to watch before you left the mortal coil? Like, say we...
Tough call.
What was that?
Tough call.
That is a tough... Well, I don't think it's a tough call for me. But I have so many, but I don't think it's a tough call. But what I'm going to say is there a movie, and even in the chat tonight, we got 5 people in the room listening to the show. live and talking and whatnot. Is there a movie that like? But here's the thing: the reason, Jerry, I'm not gonna worry about this is because any version of, let's say, knock on wood, I make it to heaven. Any version of my heaven is gonna have movies. Like, if we're saying like, so I was thinking about it. Is it something where you?
Oh
if
God,
you-
book 2.
No. Oh God, book 2 is terrible.
Heaven can wait.
Heaven can wait.
Bruce
Yes.
Almighty.
Well, yeah, we're just gonna pick God movie. But I was just thinking about it. Like he watched all these 40s and 50s movies that he really loved.
Charlton Heston and the Ten Commandments on repeat.
We're history of the world. We have these 20. 10
10.
commandments.
10 commandments. Let's go to the comments. We got some comments, at least 2. Hey brothers. Hey Sean Smithson, how you doing? Joe Ridgely, good evening. Good evening, sir. So that's the thing. Is there a movie that you could, like, mine's Raiders. Always gonna be Raiders. I mean, I have toys. I like, it's just, I love Raiders. But I mean, if I was putting like together like 5, right? Movies to hit before I leave. It's like Raiders, The Thing, 82, Aliens, because of just so many ties. There you go. Probably the original Halloween. I love the original Halloween. There
Not
you
the
go.
Rob Zombie one?
No, it's not. It's not the Rob Zombie one. That one can burn right now. And actually,
Next
if
to
my
you.
hell, I was thinking about it. The 2 things my hell could be are either cleaning the closet with my wife, which is a daily request that I like. It's just a messy closet that
That's
just
kind
never
of
gets
odd
cleaned.
since you podcast out of the closet, but okay.
Right?
Yeah, well, not
It goes everywhere.
we have 2 walk-in closets. This is my closet, and there's another closet that has clothing and other things, storage stuff. And every day, it's like I feel that's, if we get put in hell together, it's just the devil at the door going, no,
That's
you
where
can't
you
do
put things when people come over.
that.
Who doesn't do that?
Last
Cleaning out
film
my
I want to watch is
closet.
one of the first movie I ever saw was Rhapsody in Blue. Interesting, Ken. Interesting. So it's like Ken is going back. I want to watch something that I saw first.
It's interesting.
That is super interesting. That is really interesting.
For me, it would probably be Chasing Amy because it has all the tones of home because it was filmed like where I grew up and it's just funny and comics and Kevin Smith movies and Dick and Fork
That
jokes,
was
but mostly where I grew up. I mean, is where it was filmed. So I mean, it's just home.
that's an interesting. So I think this is the George Gershwin movie that Ken is talking about. So
The first movie I saw in the drive-in that I can remember is Death Race 2000.
Death Race 2000. But is that the thing? Is it your first Is it your first memories? Is that the
No,
one?
it's a memory though because it was in the.
Well, like I said, one of my Raiders is entrenched in mine because that is one of the. I mean, in my thinking, like the 2 movies from my childhood that are entrenched in my head of, I can remember the theater. I can remember because my dad ran the theater, so it's like there's this tiny theater in Monticello, New York. It's a twin. In '81, he had Superman 2 and Raiders.
I saw Superman 2 in the movies too.
So he had those 2 movies, and they played all fucking summer. Like that's how it was then. Movies played all summer.
Mm-hmm.
So those 2 movies played forever. But Raiders, I remember seeing the days before because they had to put together prints, and they would get the prints early, so that projectionists didn't have to kill themselves on Thursday nights. And so he put it together. I watched it with the kid the other mall urchin that I hung out with at the little strip mall that the theater was in. His parents owned a dry cleaning store across the strip mall. Um, so I guess Raiders. I don't know. Superman now. Superman the movie.
The earliest movie I remember going to see was E.T. in '82.
Interesting. Superman.
That too.
Superman. I was famous at my parents' dinner parties. Superman came out in '78. I was 4, and I could do the trial scene word for
Ken
word.
does confirm that it was a Gershwin Brothers movie that you are talking about.
Yep, it's the Gershwins. There we go. Perfect.
And we have a new
Um,
person in the chat.
what's up? Martin F. Glazer, welcome. If you missed the early part of the show, we're asking interesting questions. Joe Flaherty passed away. It was on SCTV, and he had, at the end, he was watching old movies, 40s and 50s movies with his daughter. And that's what they had a bond over this before he passed away today at the age of 82. So I don't know. I was just thinking about it, like, because I was my thing, like when somebody says to me, "What's the last movie you want to watch?" I'm of the assumption, Jerry, for you and I, right? I don't know what heaven and hell is, but if I go anywhere and there's no movies, it's got to be hell, right? For me,
Right?
it's got to be hell. If I get
Or it's
there
just
and
Adam
like,
Sandler movies.
oh, that's hell. Are they the Netflix
The
movies?
Netflix series. The Netflix series, not even the theatrical
Just
releases.
the movies where he got lazy and just went on like trips to Hawaii and shit, where just
Yeah.
he didn't give a fuck. He was just there.
Goofy guy that
Well,
screws
I'm
up,
not gonna
makes
lie.
it right, gets the unattainable girl at the end.
Somebody
Adam
left a
Sandler
bottle
movie.
of water in the truck I was using today at work. I looked down, it's a bottle of Voss water, and I just always die laughing at that grown-up scene with the kid. Do you have any Voss water? It just gets me every time. It's from Adam Sandler movie.
Yes, but the rest of his movies are terrible. Like,
Yeah, but I mean, just the Voss water thing. I don't know why.
I mean,
No.
the only recent ones that have been really good, like that Spaceman thing's okay. It's interesting. Uncut Gems was good, but I don't think it's because of him. Like, he's good in it, but I think it's the Safdie brothers. They have a wicked sense of humor and darkness. And E.T. I'll never pass that movie up. Yeah, E.T. is an interesting one because you'll get a fight from people that somehow, like, one of the things we were on the E.T. ride, and my wife said, "Will they ever get rid of this ride at Universal?" And the answer is no. One, because Spielberg built the company, and two, because I think there's a contract or something. Also, it's the one movie that Universal that you go, that's their movie. Hello, Jamie Hill. This is an interesting discussion you've joined. Joe Flaherty from SCTV passed away. So we're asking, what would your last movie be? Jerry, did you come up with one?
That's tough, though, because I have categories. It's just so hard. It's going to depend on the moment, I think. Like, I want to see, and then I'll just pick it, you know?
Or you'll pick it and like not get the end of it. That would be fucking awful.
Yeah.
Like that
Sometimes
would be
you
the
don't want the end of it,
that
though.
would be the ultimate. That would be the ultimate kick in my sack, right? Like, just I get to watch Raiders and I get 3 seconds in before the vetoes and out.
Snakes.
Snakes. There's a big snake in the plane, Jack. It's my pet snake, Reggie. I can do that movie almost verbatim. That's one of the interesting stories today. Joe Flaherty passing away, and I just found it really kind of heartfelt that basically he watched movies with his daughter. I thought it was sweet. How about this story that came out today? In the inevitable quest to be the biggest asshole possible, I'm not going to get into politics. It's a nerd show. Bill Maher getting in more trouble. I guess he does that podcast, right? He does the podcast where he get tokes
What's
up
the
and
podcast?
what is it, Club Random or whatever the fuck it's called. And so he invites people on the show, and he invited Steve-O on. Now, Steve-O's sober, and one of the rules of his sobriety is that he doesn't engage near people who are doing drug intake. And Mars publicist called him back and said, "Don't worry about it. We're not going to have you on the show." Because Steve-O said, "Could you not smoke while I'm on the show? I'll answer any questions you want or whatever you want to do." Is that what kind of a douchebag do you have to be if somebody's sober to not, I don't understand. Is it something where you're putting yourself out for an hour and a half? You know what I mean? Like, what do you guys think of that?
I guess he didn't want him on the show that bad. I don't know.
I just think, isn't that like the rudest thing you could come up with? I was just like thinking about it. I'm like,
if he really wanted
I
the
didn't
guy,
even know he still had a show. I mean, that might have just been a way for him to get the headlines that he still has a show.
well, he has a show. He has real time on HBO. He just signed a 2-year contract extension.
He's still doing that HBO thing.
He's still doing the HBO
Exactly.
thing. Every week he's in D-bag material, but this random show is basically where he's getting a lot of headlines lately, and I just think it's really funny that you have a guy on that's sober and you're like, "I'll pass. You can stay home. I don't want you on the show." I found it in poor taste when I read it today. What else? Oh, Sean.
That means
Sean, I don't know.
Want him on the show.
I guess Hellraiser would be fitting then, right? Laugh out loud. Like original Hellraiser, right? Although, I'm going to start a fight here for movie fans and horror fans. I like the original Hellraiser, but I am very partial to Hellraiser 2 Hellbound. I think Hellraiser 2 is better. I may be wrong about that, but I think Hellraiser 2 is better just because I like the Doctor.
I don't think you're wrong about Hellraiser 2.
I think Hellraiser 2...
I kind of agree with that. I like Hellraiser a lot, but I thought Hellraiser 2
Hellraiser 2 is one of the few...
had a more robust storyline, I think.
Yes, it also has great lines, and then the Doctor plays with the box, and he becomes that snake thing, and
I like
and
that.
Then
after that, like three
with the video guy,
and then the rest were like...
The rest are a mess.
The rest were like RoboCop 3 and on.
Even RoboCop 2. RoboCop 2 is pretty bad. RoboCop 2
was okay.
RoboCop is like the epitome of excellently done violence, and then RoboCop 2 just takes everything to the next level, and it's borderline like the kid getting shot is where you kind of in RoboCop 2 you're like, what just happened? What am I part of? Like, what just happened? The kid, he pulled out a MAC-10 and then he got mowed down. Also, I do want to say the Hellraiser reboot was pretty good with the girl Pinhead. Pretty good. I liked it.
It was okay.
Wasn't bad. That's a reasonable request of Steve-O, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Steve-O asking for it is reasonable. Never seen any Bill Maher shows. I think you're lucky. I don't think he's the best show on HBO with regards to comedy and politics.
With you, Ken. I never watched.
John Oliver, way the fuck up here. Anyway, yes, the original first 3. After that, not so great. That's about right, Sean. What else? Let's see. How about this? Of course this happened. Storyline today. News today that the George Carlin estate has settled his lawsuit over the AI-generated comedy special. In January, Dudesy Podcast released George Carlin, I'm Glad I'm Dead, which purported to be an hour-long special created by AI. Of course, George Carlin died in 2008, but the special featured a sound-alike voice, probably Will Sasso, and Chad Kultgen, working for the Dudesy Podcast. So they got sued. The estate sued, alleging the special violated the estate's copyright, its publicity right to Carlin's name, image, and likeness. And of course this fucking happened. They won today. So everything got pulled down. The Dudesy brand can't mention George Carlin ever again. is this the beginning of the end for everything? If AI can just recreate people, because why do we need movie stars at that point? If you can just do kind of like, I need a
Well,
computer.
We need Yul
I
Brenner.
don't think the AI is recreating the movie stars. It's creating the scripts for people. It's going to
Well,
put out.
well, no, it's going to do that,
It'll
but
give
no, the
Godfather type
AI
script,
can,
but better.
but AI can create a facsimile of people now. That's so. This was the writing. The voice was provided by a Carlin sound-alike, probably Will Sasso, but nobody took credit for it. But the question becomes, if we get to a point where we can just recreate things with AI, like I think this is what the last strike was about, for both the actors and writers. Like
Oh, yeah.
the idea that we are fighting this fight for some stupid reason about just fucking pay people. Like I
Hey,
don't.
man, Kiss is going AI. Come on.
Well, I mean,
That was the big announcement on their final show, is that they're going to
Yeah.
continue on, but like
theoretically, they're
holograms
AI.
and
They're
artificial intelligence.
part machine now anyway, aren't they?
Right.
They've already been that way.
No, but they all got kids that like playing bands. Like they could have just passed the baton to their kids to like, okay,
Like-
your turn to wear the makeup.
Yeah, like
But they're like,
Menudo.
no.
When you're 18, you're
Like
out. Just
Menudo, like Menudo, you're out.
Bam.
I just
Ricky
think
Martin, you're out.
this was the weirdest, one of the weirdest stories
He's
of the
still
year.
living La
And
Vida
then,
Loca.
well, yeah, I mean, completely different from what he thought his La Vida Loca was going to be. But I just thought it was one of the weird stories of the year, and of course, they won because they have the fucking copyrights. And when it, I just don't understand. Big story of the weekend. I don't know. It was Easter weekend, and I mean, nobody would be going to the movies on Easter weekend.
Nobody at all. I don't know why anyone would.
Except
That's what I
everybody
said
went to
last
the
week.
except everybody to the movies went to the
That was
movies.
spent at the fucking Kong movie that I was wrong about. I admit it.
It was
I admit it.
I said
It was almost as bad as the thrashing as when you thought Five Nights at Freddy's wasn't going to do good. But hey,
but
you had to
hey,
eat that. I got to eat this.
How did
It's
it do?
all good.
Let's hear the
how did it
numbers.
how did it do?
80 million.
80 million. 80 million domestic, Jerry. It did another 111 million worldwide for a 191 total for the weekend. It's doing gangbusters everywhere. It's doing gangbusters in China. It's doing gangbusters in Japan. Like the numbers are so fucking high. And I went to look. So here's the story from various places. But one of the things that was interesting is that Warner Brothers is kind of like, I don't know if Warner Brothers is kicking themselves, but the interesting thing for Warner Brothers is in the last month of this year, Warner Brothers has figured out how much money they lost in the pandemic year. Because in the pandemic year, Godzilla vs. Kong grossed, let's see what it grossed, 31.6 and 48.1 in its first 5 days. And it became the first film of the post-pandemic era to crack $100 million. Interesting. Another interesting little thing is they had Dune, which also did well at the beginning, towards the end of the pandemic. But Dune has grossed 2 times what the original did. They've lost a ton of fucking money. And actually, I think the interesting thing here is, I think this is the, how do I say this? I think this is the way for anybody who's on the fence in Hollywood to say, we definitely need to release our movies. We need to pull back on the string, because I'm going to tell you right now, I think Roadhouse would have done business. Now, the question I have for other people is, It would have done business. I don't know that it would have done. It's not going to do this business. But so here's the numbers, Jerry. Ready? 80 million opening weekend, 111 worldwide. It's now as of today. This is with counting Monday. It's over $202 million worldwide box office. Budget of I don't know. I don't know what the budget is, but it's huge. It's massive. And I was looking at it. What timeout? What do you got?
Yeah, I think you're missing the bigger story, though.
What's the bigger story? Tell me the bigger story.
The drop off that Ghostbusters had down to 15 million. That puts that in jeopardy of, are they even gonna? Is that going to put another Ghostbusters in jeopardy?
I told you guys last week. I thought Ghostbusters were going to get crushed, and then I also told you guys last week that I think Ghostbusters has bigger problems because it's not. It's a domestic franchise. It is not a worldwide franchise. The numbers for Godzilla around the world, $100 million. It's a lot of fucking money around the world. Like 80 for the States. Highest number of the year. Biggest number of the year. It could end up being like, I was thinking about, I'm looking at all these movies that are coming out. What's the next movie that grosses over 60?
Planet of the Apes, maybe?
Planet of the Apes, maybe. They moved that up, by the way. They moved that out of the way of Furiosa. That's the one I think could do really well. Memorial Day weekend. It's got a 4-day weekend. I freely believe in the power of George Miller as a director. He makes great movies. They're visceral. They require repeated viewings. You know what I mean? And Fury Road is one of the greatest action movies of the last 10 years. Right? So, but everything else, the summer slate, the more I look at the summer slate, it's bleak. Like, we get to July is where the mega movie of the summer is July.
Well, everybody loves Godzilla, so how can you argue with that?
That is true. That is another thing. Godzilla is on an upswing. But a quick review of the movie. The movie's great. The movie's fun. It's not brain surgery. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Ken said I said 70. I said 55 or higher. So I feel I'm in good company there. Because I mean, the estimates were at 40. I thought it was going to be bigger than 40. I didn't know it was going to double 40. Budget was 135. So they're going to find a way to not be in the black, but they're in the black already. And it's doing great. Like, it's just doing great all over the world. John Wick 4 will laugh out loud, but Beetlejuice might. Beetlejuice has. I'm concerned about Beetlejuice's date. Like, it opens September in like the first week of September, where Warner Brothers has opened movies, right? They opened it and a couple other things. But Beetlejuice isn't in the summer. I'm leaning towards, Wolverine and Deadpool is going to be the biggest movie of the summer, maybe, but it's going to be R-rated. It's like, there's so many little questions, but
you should do Halloween for Beetlejuice, huh?
I think they're thinking that they're gonna play through October. That would be my guess.
Mm.
Or they're gonna play 5 or 6 weeks and then go streaming home for Halloween. Take Beetlejuice home for Halloween. Would be my guess.
What was the number you're saying the beat here?
For what?
The next, how much? You said how much millions?
Anything over 60. You
don't think Garfield has a chance on Memorial Day weekend being the only kids movie that comes out since God knows when?
Maybe.
It's probably Kung Fu Panda.
Maybe,
I
gotta tell
on a holiday weekend.
I gotta tell you that the movie looks like trash. Like, it doesn't look good. I know there are Garfield fans out there. That's the other thing. That movie feels like it's 5 years late. I mean, it might actually feel 5 years late for 5 years late.
Okay. And June 14th, Pixar, Inside Out 2?
Maybe.
The
I
first
think
one
it's
was
going to be a
good,
kids
though.
movie.
Inside Out was really good, though.
Inside Out's a great movie. But the question there is, and I'm going to say this to you point blank. Pixar, how are they doing? When was the last time I had a super mega hit?
Inside Out. I don't know.
No, but well, Pixar. I mean, granted, they did okay with Elemental, and Elemental ended up doing way better. It kind of had a lackluster first weekend, but it didn't do anything close to 70 million. You know what I mean? Like, let's see, the new remake of Wizard of Oz was Perspective of the Dog. I think it's going to be called Toto Recall. I'm sorry, Sean.
Oh,
I have
oh,
Sean. I might have to.
ouch.
No more comments for you tonight. Sean,
That's
put
awesome.
down the beer. Put down the beer, Sean. But I was looking at numbers, right? The other numbers, just to give you an idea of how big Godzilla and Kong is, right? Godzilla 2014, the movie that started this franchise, total domestic gross 200 million. Worldwide gross 529. Okay? Let's see. Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Don't listen to him, Sean. You can stay.
You don't have to go. I'm not going to have any more comments for you.
Just make another. Make up
I'll read
another
him.
one.
Don't worry.
Godzilla
I
King
laughed.
of,
I thought it was
Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. Total domestic gross 110. Worldwide 383. And then Godzilla vs. Kong, again, in the middle of the pandemic in 2021. Domestic gross total $100 million. Worldwide 468. So this movie is gonna blow past those movies.
Godzilla's a kids movie too now.
Well, Godzilla, I will say the 6 and 7-year-old went to Godzilla and did not bat an eyelash, did not just sat there and just bathed in the exquisite beauty that is Monster Mayhem.
Kids love Godzilla.
It's a great fucking movie, Jerry. It's a fantastic movie. It has, like, one of the things I love about the Monsterverse, and I don't know if we've talked about this franchise enough, which, by the way, after this weekend is now a $2 billion current franchise with no sense of that, hey, maybe they're going to the well too often on this one, right? Like, I will say one of the things I love about this batshit insane franchise is that they do everything crazy. Everything's nuts and bigger and crazy. So when you go to see them, like, it's loud, it's heavy, there's fighting, like, it's just everything and that's part of the reason I put my lineup tonight. The Monsterverse creators, they get it. Hold on. Let's see. We got some comments. I'll see myself. You don't have to leave. It's just no more comments.
I already addressed that. You're late.
July's Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. Not sure if it's not in theaters. Beverly Hills Cop is not in theaters. Netflix only.
No, but there's a June 7th release that might make that 60 million mark of Bad Boys 4. Bad Boys 3 opened at 62.4.
Oh, that was a whole smack ago, though.
Yeah, but that's got a pretty loyal fan base.
Whole smack ago. This is a safe franchise for him, but I don't know. Maybe. That's why we're here to talk about things. Laugh out loud. Deadpool would be the big winner. I think Deadpool's... Again, the problem for Deadpool is it's going to be R-rated. Definitely going to be R-rated. Is there a Star Wars remake coming out? No. When you say remake, your wife's getting into weird territory. Ashley doesn't like my Twilight stuff.
She's not a Star Wars person, so.
Now, is she referring to the Mandalorian movie that's coming out, or the Phantom Menace being re-released?
No, it's being re-released. Phantom Menace is celebrating its 25th anniversary. That'll be the month of May. And then some theaters around the country are playing all 9 movies where you can't leave the theater. True statement. I heard something about that. No spoilers.
It's sponsored by Depends.
No spoilers, please. But I heard people cried watching Godzilla. I'm not giving any spoilers. I don't know what was it cried with joy?
You know, I cried when Rodan died in Rodan. My mother will tell you that too.
I will tell you my big cry
there.
for a guy movie. You know what my guy movie cry is? Terminator 2. End of T2 is into the fucking lava. That's the cry moment. I don't.
Oh, I thought he
don't
got
know
chosen for 7-Up.
Joe said, "Fuck Will Smith." I think that's the case. Like, I don't know. Another thing is
so?
the Bad Boys. It was Bad Boys for Life, and this one's like Bad Boys. What is it? What you gonna do, or whatever the fuck they're doing?
Ride or Die.
Ride or Die. Okay.
Listen, the Bad Boys with
the
Sean Penn was the
trailer-
best one anyway. So who we
different
trying
kind
to
of
kid
bad,
here?
different kind of Bad Boys, Jerry.
It was a better movie than all of the other ones.
Sure. I'm not totally wrong. You are totally wrong. It's not a remake. It's just they're sending it out for its 25th anniversary.
She had a
I
little
love your
bit
wife.
of knowledge.
I love your wife. It was nice. It was nice. She saw a poster or something, which is nice. I appreciate it.
Well, she saw a poster while driving to a Drake show.
Yeah, I did see the pictures. I saw the pictures from that. Anyway,
I wasn't there.
but I think
was-
Godzilla. I think the Godzilla Kong thing. The other thing to look at for this movie is sky's the limit. The director Adam Wingard. One of the things I did get excited about. Do you know what franchise he owns right now? Do you know what IP he owns and is working on currently? The man who brought monsters to life in Kong versus Godzilla, Godzilla versus Kong, and Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. I'll give you each one guess of an important IP from our childhood that this man owns.
GoBots.
No, but you're close.
Transformers.
No, Spielberg owns them. He, folks, is currently working on a Thundercats live action adaptation.
I've heard this for too many years until I actually
I
see
know
a
you've heard it
trailer.
for too many years, but this is a guy who just opened a movie to $80 million. That
would
makes
be
a couple of years and makes it interesting.
I would like to see the Herculoids live action.
Herculoids, that would be amazing.
The Herculoids would be
Sean Penn soda cans and a pillowcase.
yes.
Lunchroom talk. I don't. Okay. Not sure why they cried. I tried to keep away from spoilers, but I guess it was an emotional movie. Maybe just some nostalgia and it being that good. Yeah, there's one or two human plot lines. Also got Kong's pretty fucking cool. Kong, I will say, if you're a Godzilla Kong fan and you like Kong, I'm a Kong person. I'm pro Kong. I'm not as a
The next
Godzilla
four
based
comments are going.
Yeah, it's gonna be
The
great.
next four comments are taking us completely off the track here.
That was the worst 4 hours of my entire life. Maybe it was Godzilla -1 they were talking about. If yes, now if it was Godzilla -1, Sean, that's one of the best fucking movies. That it's probably the best Godzilla movie ever made. I don't consider these MonsterVerse movies great Godzilla films, but Godzilla -1, when it gets home and everybody gets a chance to see it, they will understand how great it is. It's kind of like what I would say about Godzilla -1 is versus Godzilla Kong. Godzilla Kong are clearly centered on the monsters. Godzilla -1 is the first Godzilla movie. It deals with heavy cases of survivor remorse. It's very deep, but it probably treats the human characters in a Godzilla film better than any other Godzilla film, is the way I would describe it. Have you guys watched the recent Nickelodeon 4-part doc?
Yes.
Pretty sick, some scummy guys. I have not watched it.
I have.
I saw bits.
Oh, that third episode. The third
Here's the thing,
episode is the toughest watch you will ever have to do.
Well, and
my God.
here's the thing. You knew like when you knew things were bad. When the one girl, what was the one girl from the one show?
Amanda Bynes.
I no, I don't know. It
I
wasn't
saw
her.
the
It was
Ariana
one of the sidekicks.
Grande ones or whatever, right?
It was one of the sidekicks. She wrote her book about like, I'm so glad my mother died. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know it's bad when you like an
You
adult writes a
gotta
book
watch
like,
it,
I'm
though.
so glad my mother died. Can't remember what it was. I can't remember what show.
If you only watch episode 3 of it though, oh my god.
I have not watched it. I don't know that I can get through it. Oh wait,
It's tough.
Despicable Me 4 is coming out. Kids love that crap. Yeah, it's the 4th movie. 4 movies into any kids franchise is where things get dicey. Because yeah, we may love the Minions, but how many fucking Minion?
The last Minions
iCarly,
movie was
Joe
iCarly,
Rogan, right?
Jeanette McCurdy. That's exactly who it was. That's exactly who it was. I
now
couldn't think of her name.
now going back
And
to the Nickelodeon thing. This past weekend, I did get to see the Life and Times or the Life and Slimes of Mark Summers, who was a Double Dare host. It was a stand-up show off Broadway, and he goes deep into while he was doing that show and before and after. He extreme OCD and like couldn't even stand the idea of getting dirty while doing a show where you got slimed. And like his wife would wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning and find him like straightening the fringe on the carpet in the living room, and like you come into bed, yeah, 10 more minutes. And like he would thought if he didn't have all of them straightened, his plane would crash and like something bad would happen to his wife and kids. Like
maybe there was something
this
in the
was,
time.
I don't know, but that was also
Well,
dark.
I think
he was-
the idea that you know 50s, 60s, 70s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right? When there was no internet, nothing, you could get away with so much shit when you were doing stuff, right? And now we're in a different mood, we're in a different era where, like think about how crazy it was when the guy from that 70s show got nailed for rape and then everybody got in trouble. Not for being his friend, but for writing something to the judge like you should go easy on him. Right? Like
Oh,
Ashton
that
Kutcher.
happens in that Nickelodeon documentary too. You got to watch it.
Yeah, it was one of the I've heard that. I don't
Oh, there's a lot of them.
I don't know if I
Not
want to
one.
spend my time like I don't know that I have to watch. Like I understand. Just gives me the like. I just feel bad for the kids. You know what I mean? Like I feel somebody should have been watching them and taking care of them. And I feel like anybody that was kind of to the side of things is just gonna like. I was reading the one thing about Keenan and Kel, right? Keenan Mitchell or Kel or whatever. Those two guys, they were kind of like we were older and we were making Good Burger and we were away from all of it. But you had to know something was there, right? Like when you're doing all that or whatever. Like you know what I mean? Like so it just kind of it. I feel like it's one of those things that tinges everyone. Let's see. Nope. People show up as suits and minions. I understand. I saw that crazy thing that happened with wacky TikTokers, but by that time, TikTok should be banned, and we'll be fine.
Oh Jesus!
Thundercat. I'm just kidding. Thundercats. I recall stories about Louis Gossett Jr. playing Panther, but that won't happen now. Also, there's also here Edie's. Yeah, Louis Gossett Jr. was the other person I wanted to talk about really quick. Passed away.
We
Academy
have to make
Award.
a segue here.
That was a hell of a segue. Academy
Oh, we
Award
have
winner
to after you're done.
and Emmy winner, Louis Gossett Jr. So incredible.
Now we have to.
And then yeah, no, I know. I got you. I know where we're headed. There'll be a Disney Kids doc soon. JW sent an image of what rumors are for an actors in the live action Thundercats. Let's see. Hold on. Do I have to go to? I'm assuming I go to Facebook. Hold on. Let's see who Sean has sent me. and then we'll bring the picture up. Give me 1 second. But yeah, I mean, I think the documentaries where you find out that Hollywood is terrible and bad shit happens to good people, I don't know that I enjoy them anymore. Like I get like, I don't know. I feel like I don't need. I feel like I'm watching a train wreck, and I can't do anything about the train wreck. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
Does that make sense? Let's see. Ashley wrote, they can't ban TikTok. Jerry needs that income.
Do they pay you in yen?
I didn't.
Oh, it's dollars.
If I hadn't gone to high school with Jerry, I would have assumed he was a computer AI generated bass player. The way he plays, he's so good. He could be a computer. Here's that casting. Here's that casting. Let's see what we got. I can't read it. It's terrible.
That's blurry as fuck.
It's blurry as fuck. Hold on.
It says Thundercat.
Is Jar Jar Binks in that picture?
Okay, Liam Hemsworth. Liam Hemsworth as Lion-O. Liam, huh? Ben Affleck as Tigra. Scarlett Johansson as Chitara. Idris Elba as Panthro. McKenna Grace as Wily Kit. Bryce Gaysar as Wily Cat. Frank Welker as the voice of Snarf, of course. Anthony Hopkins as Jaga. Sylvester Stallone as Grune. Andy Serkis as Slythe. Anna Paquin as Pumaria. And Willem Dafoe as Mumra. I think that's a fan cast. I also don't think it's a particularly good fan cast. I don't think Hopkins is taking a lot of roles these days. I don't think that's a great cast. Let's see. But that is a great point. We're near the close of our show. And it's at this point where we all take the walk down some steps into a dark basement, the receding basement. It came from Jerry's basement. Jerry, what movie we telling folks to find on some sort of streaming service this week? What do you got?
The Deep.
The Deep. Who is in The Deep? What is The Deep? Robert Shaw, Jacqueline Bisset, and Nick Nolte.
Louis Gossett Jr.
There you go. A perfect segue that I fucked up for you.
Nick Nolte and his wife go to Bermuda. They go scuba diving. They find a ship. They find morphine on that ship. Louis Gossett Jr. is a drug dealer. He's also aware of that. And Robert Shaw is a treasure hunter. And it becomes a battle to see who can get the bounty.
Who can get the ship that they find.
And I also have the soundtrack. The LP.
The LP. Look at you. Where can people find The Deep if they want to go on this water movie with Robert Shaw and in memory of Louis Gossett Jr.?
This is on the YouTube app for free.
YouTube app for free. The Deep.
Yes.
Excellent. What year was that movie made?
The Deep came out in 77.
77. So it's 3 years after Jaws. Interesting. I just think I think it's funny. Hollywood always makes a bunch of movies like Volcano and Dante's Peak, or Armageddon and Deep Impact. Like we never get, movies just by themselves. Kyle, is there anything aside from the Kid Deadling documentary that you want to push this week? Is there a TED that you found, some show that you've
X-Men 97 on Disney Plus.
X-Men 97
First
is really
3 episodes are out.
It's really good. It's well done.
Got Jubilee in it, who should get her own movie at some point. With
never
a hat with ketchup.
Never gonna happen. She will never get a single movie. She will be in a movie at some point, but she will never get her own movie.
Did we say single movie? Or
Yes,
just that
yeah.
should be in a movie.
No,
I
no,
don't know if
no,
we said single.
no, no, no,
I think we might have to go back to the archives.
no, no, no. I know what I bet
Oh,
to eat a hat over. What I bet to eat a
oh,
hat
I'm not
over
sure
is
you
that
do.
Jubilee will get her own movie. Is what I bet on.
I
It's just like betting
suppose
you,
Jubilee won't
32
be in a
million because
movie.
you felt nobody would want to watch, giant monsters fighting each other this Easter weekend.
Not on Holy Weekend.
I I don't. Okay, you know, yes, part of the Ghostbusters thing you brought up was interesting. One of the things that I did say to you, it's not a domestic franchise. I also think it was like, it was bad luck that Godzilla and Kong moved up. They moved up almost 3 weeks to hit Easter weekend, and they completely, like, Ghostbusters would have done okay this week. I mean, it did okay. It dropped 60% though, 15 million. It's only at like 72 million.
Ghostbusters total domestic gross isn't for the 2 weeks. It's not even equal to Godzilla's one weekend.
Yeah, we're in a down phase where an $80 million weekend is just something you can't expect anymore. Um, I don't know that we're ever gonna have, like, you remember, like, the weekends where we had 200, 180. I don't know that there are any movies out
Avengers
there.
weekends.
Avengers weekends, Star Wars weekends, glorious $200 million weekends where you're like, how do they have that many theaters? How did that
What's the
work?
price tag for the 9 Star Wars movies?
To go to it,
Yeah.
I think it's like $100. And the way it works, I was reading about it's only at one theater. I think it's only at one theater. I think it's one of the Alamo Draft House. And I think the way it works is if you get up and you don't come back, like, every movie has a 5-minute intermission. You get up and you leave your seat and you don't come back by the end of the 5-minute intermission, when the new scroll starts, you lose your seat. It can be usurped by somebody else in the waiting list outside. And I looked at that and I'm just like, fuck. I
Got to
don't.
get a case of adult briefs.
That's well. I know it. There's 5 minutes in between each movie, but you can lose your seat if you're not back
It
in time.
won't happen in 5
My
minutes.
thing is, like, it's all 9 of the Skywalker saga. There's only 3 I really want to see on the big screen again. Maybe.
Correct.
Actually, hold on.
And the second one's the best one.
5. I'd like to see 5 again on the big screen. I'll go 5. I'll go Revenge of the Sith. I'll go the original Star Wars. I'll go Empire Strikes Back because that is the best one. I'll go Return of the Jedi because I was 9. It was
It's the
glorious.
nostalgia, right?
It's the nostalgia one. And I'll go Force Awakens because no matter what people want to say after the fact, everybody went to the Force Awakens and everybody had a good time and everybody liked it. Now we're at 3 movies in, everybody's like bitching, moaning, complaining because things didn't happen the way they wanted. But the Force Awakens, we were all there. We watched Han Solo and Chewie show up again. We watched the fight, the lightsaber duel between Kylo and Rey. Great. Spoiler. What the fuck are you talking about?
Empire, best one. Just saying.
Clone Wars on big screen though? Come on.
Well, no, it's just.
There you go, Sean.
He was in so many great movies: Enemy of Mine, The Deep, Firewalker, Iron Eagle. Yeah, the ones I was like. I mean, obviously, the one he gets the most. Louis Gossett Jr. gets the most mentions for is, of course, An Officer and a Gentleman. And if you haven't seen that movie, we did it on Generation Movie.
Great movie.
It is a fantastic movie. It is really difficult. There's a lot of shit going on in it that's way darker than any romance movie you will get. Like, I know The Notebook has dementia, right? I know The Notebook has dementia, but Officer or Gentleman has suicide, townies versus locals. It also has, like, a fake pregnancy. Like, it's dark.
But we are going to miss Chappie, though.
Chappie and Iron Eagle.
Chappie, I'm gonna do it my way.
That was a whole franchise, by the way. That
Yeah, it was.
other movie that Sean mentions that everybody, if you haven't ever had a chance to see it,
Enemy Mine.
I cannot recommend Enemy Mine more enough. Basic plot. It's one of the great unsung sci-fi movies of the '80s. Basic plot.
That's in the basement here.
The Earth and another planet are at war, and it's like dogfighty, dogfighty wars, and we don't understand the alien civilization. They don't understand us. Dennis Quaid is an Earthling. He crashes on the planet. Louis Gossett Jr. is a pilot for the reptilian race, and they crash on the planet, and they have to work together to survive. And it's beautiful. It's well done. It's a really great movie, and it has a great catch. Like it has a great, like Dennis Quaid is really good because it's like everything. He starts off really racist, and then they eventually become great friends, and then he eventually has to, he has to do some things to protect his friend.
And then he goes after the son, Zombies.
Zombies, yes. But it's got a great hook. It's got an amazing hook. It's really well done. It's very short. I think the director's, it's Wolfgang Peterson. Am I right? I think it's Wolfgang Peterson.
I still have so many questions about
Peterson,
Star Wars.
You're correct. You're correct.
But it's such a great movie. Well done. It's deep sci-fi like thought. Like if we can't communicate with another race, how are we gonna survive a war with another race? How do you ever have some sort of brief period where you don't fire at one another?
It's almost like the Avatar plot before Avatar, sort of.
Yeah,
Just saying.
Yeah. Avatar steals from everything. Avatar is an equal opportunity stealer, Jerry. I feel Cameron movies right now are as much stuff at the wall as possible. I'm gonna make it for everybody. Also a little thing we like to do, and we're nearing the end of the show, and I know Kyle can't stand it, but it is what it is at this point.
Fuck.
Twilight
Call me out, like
Twilight
Zone Redux. Ugly fucking receding headed ass.
Twilight Zone Redux, kids. And what I would say is, we're getting into some episodes where we haven't seen them. Jerry and I both haven't seen them. I don't know why either. And this one is a dark fucking episode. Like
another one I liked.
It's really good. Okay, so I'm gonna read the opening and I'm gonna read the ending when we're done. But the opening is lengthy, so be prepared. And so is the closing narration, actually. The opening narration of Judgment Night, the 10th episode of the first season. We're 10 episodes in of the Twilight Zone. Judgment Night. Her name is the SS Queen of Glasgow. Her registry British. Gross tonnage 5,000. Age indeterminate. At this moment, she's one day out of Liverpool, her destination New York. Duly recorded in the ship's log is the sailing time, course to destination, weather conditions, temperature, longitude, and latitude. But what is never recorded in a log is the fear that washes over a deck like fog and ocean spray. Fear like the throbbing strokes of engine pistons, each like a heartbeat, parceling out every hour into breathless minutes of watching, waiting, and dreading. For the year is 1942, and this particular ship has lost its convoy. It travels alone like an aged blind thing, groping through the unfriendly dark, stalked by unseen periscopes of steel killers. Yes, the Queen of Glasgow is a frightened ship, and she carries with her a premonition of death. So, first off, Jerry, is there better writing?
It's great because it describes exactly what it is.
And it puts you on the deck. So it puts you on the deck. There's a ship, there's a character on the front on the deck, and he he looks lost from the get-go.
Yep.
And this is what he kind of looks like. He looks like this, and he's lost in the deck there, and they're turning lights out. They're doing all these things. He goes down below deck to have dinner, and he feels out of place. And he's at dinner with all the other passengers on the ship, and he can't remember where he's from. And then he says, in 1942, he says, "I'm from Frankfurt, Germany." And
I was born in Frankfurt.
Born in Frankfurt. And he seems to have an unhealthy knowledge of how German U-boats work, how they find ships in the darkness, how they do all these things. And he's asked by the woman at the table, who's a military secretary, how long he's been in London. He doesn't remember. And then, when he's questioned about it, he kind of he spills his coffee on himself. He's all disheveled. He acts ridiculously scary. And then there's a moment, Jerry, where he stands up so quick, so straight, that you're like,
At attention.
Fuck. He's a German. And not to give a spoiler or anything, but so the whole episode kind of plays out, and he's going through the motions. He remembers certain times. He does not remember what his name is. He does not remember. He can't find his passport.
Something's going to happen at 1:15.
1:15. We need to be prepared at 1:15. So the episode sets an internal clock to the episode, right? So it's an internal clock to an internal episode clock. And so we're watching the clock. The captain of the ship eventually sends a porter down, so because he doesn't have his wallet or his passport with him, and he seems to be feeling ill, so he leaves dinner. They send the porter down, and the porter is not digging through his bags, but trying to help him put stuff away. Finds a hat, a Nazi hat, and then the gentleman remembers his name, and he's like, I was born in Frankfurt, and my name is
I forget the dude's name.
It's Lanza, Colonel Lancer, Carl Lancer. I remember my name. I remember I was born in Frankfurt. And as he yells at the porter, and the porter leaves, he's like, "Sorry, I didn't mean to go in your stuff, sir. Is it a war memento, like something you got from somebody before the war?" And he shoos the kid out, and he looks in the hat, and the hat has his name and his rank and his ship. And you're like, as a Twilight Zone fan, you're like, wow, I have an idea where this is going, but actually, I'm going to be honest here. When you're watching it, there's no idea where it's going and how dark it's going to head.
Right.
How
you
religious
have an idea. I
it's
had
going
an
to get.
idea, but I didn't at the same time.
Right. You have an idea that he's somehow, maybe he snuck on the boat. Maybe he's infected from Germany. Maybe the Germans are trying to find him. Right. Comment. Let's see. Sean, hold on. Enemy Mine was the first movie I ever saw at home on Laserdisc. Mickey Mouse was a big dope. Also, where would you be without me? Home. So many great lines in that movie. Yes, Enemy Mine's fantastic. Can't recommend that enough. But as the episode progresses, 1:15 hits, and Carl Lancer looks out into the ocean, and there is a German U-boat, and he starts alerting everybody, but everybody's asleep, and
nobody's around.
Nobody's around. He's running through the ship. We gotta abandon ship. We gotta get out of here. And at one point, he comes down a hallway, and it's all of the people he's met up with. At any point, he's like, "We gotta go," and he turns, and when he turns back, they are gone. And he goes to the deck, and the ship just gets blown the fuck apart. Like it gets riddled with bullets. It gets hit by the U-boat.
Yep.
And he looks out from the bow, and he is the captain of this U-boat that is sinking the Glasgow. And he jumps overboard, and he watches as the woman he had talked to earlier burns in her cabin. The captain burns at the head of the ship, and it then cuts to the Carl Lancer that's on the SS U-boat, and he is down in his captain's quarters, and he's talking to a soldier played by James Franciscus, by the way, a famous American actor who would be in many movies and just a lot of shows and stuff. Combat and a lot of things. He was in a lot of stuff with a lot of movies in the 50s and a lot of movies in the 60s. But he's having a discussion with his first mate, who's basically he calls him out as being a woman and just all these different things. Because Mueller is saying what we didn't even warn them that we were going to blow up their ship. I feel like we could be going to hell for this. So he's like,
damn to the hell that they're in.
And I feel like he goes, I feel like we've done something so horrible that we are going to be condemned to, they may have only had to live it once, but we may have to live it 100 million times. The idea of being scared and cold and lonely and just hiding in the night and waiting for somebody to drop the hammer on you.
It's a great hell story.
It's a hell story. It turns out, and that's when it gets great. So Lancer rips him to shreds and says, maybe this life isn't for you. What could, all these other things. And the episode ends with Mueller leaving his quarters, and it goes back to Lancer on the deck, the exact same shot that opened the episode. So Carl Lancer is living
hell,
the terror of every night, reliving what the people on this boat lived over and over and over again as punishment. Yep. And a couple things. Interesting stuff that you can dig up on the closing narration is the SS Queen of Glasgow heading for New York, and the time is 1942. For one man, it's always 1942, and this man will ride the ghost ship every night for eternity. This is what is meant by paying the fiddler. This is the consequence awaiting every man when the ledger of his life is opened and examined, the tally made, and then the reward or the penalty paid. And in the case of Carl Lancer, former Capitan Lieutenant, Navy of the Third Reich, this is the penalty. This is the justice meted out. This is Judgment Night in the Twilight Zone. A fantastic fucking episode, Jerry.
Yeah, it is.
A fantastic episode.
That's why I wrote you. I'm like, I like this.
Holy fuck. And it's dark, and it's the conversation between Mueller and Lancer is so esoteric, because Mueller is a religious person that happens to be making terrible decisions based on the army he is in, right? And right. Lancer doesn't care about anything. Now, a couple things, interesting, fun notes about this episode. This is one of the only episodes in the first 18 episodes that had to be changed by Rod Serling, and you'll never, I can't even put into words the reason why. So, in an interview with Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes in September of 1959, Serling said, "We changed in 18 scripts, Mike. We've had one line change," which again was a little ludicrous, but of an insufficient basic concern within the context of the story. Not to put up a fight. On a bridge in a British ship, a sailor calls down to the galley and asks in my script for a pot of tea, because I believe that it's constitutionally acceptable in the British Navy to drink tea. One of our sponsors on CBS happens to sell instant coffee, and they go by the name of Sanka. And he took great umbrage, or at least minor umbrage, with the idea of me saying tea on national television. Well, we had a couple of swings back and forth, nothing serious, and we decided we'd ask for a tray to be sent up to the bridge. But in 18 scripts, that's the only conflict we've had.
Interesting.
I think it's hilarious that the dark topics we've covered in the first 10 episodes including a German U-boat captain that is punished to a miserable eternity. But they were worried about not pushing the Sanka. Also, and this is something I'm going to look for, this is one of the very few episodes of the Twilight Zone that has been adapted into a short story in a 1963 collection called Rod Serling's Twilight Zone, where things are upgraded. It's a 1963 book. The short story reveals how Lanzer died, showing that his U-boat was sunk by a British destroyer after a crewman on the Queen of the Glasgow radioed for assistance before it sank. It also adds a final scene set 20 years after the episode, in which Barbara Stanley, revealed to have survived the sinking of the Queen of Glasgow by boarding a lifeboat, sees the ghosts of Carl and Mueller. Mueller does not share in Lancer's punishment, but is doomed to watch it and witness it over and over for eternity.
That's cool.
That is super cool. And just like I said, I think the interesting thing for me is we talk about, writing being some of the more important things we look for in television and movies. The writing, Kyle, is so good on the show. The writing, Jerry, is so good on the show.
For such a short time.
And for the other thing is, here's a thing that gets brought up a lot, right? And I'm going to bring it up just for a second, but the idea, this show is the first woke sci-fi show. This show is beyond, like, if you're talking about calling things woke and you get into this whole fight about things, the Twilight Zone is so far fucking ahead of its time with the writing and with how it views. There's an episode coming up in season 1 that features an all-black cast in 59. I just think I'm astounded by how well it's written. I'm astounded by the issues it tackles, and the idea that these issues were made in 25-minute segments that were easily digestible by millions of people every week, to the point that maybe they change minds, and maybe we need something like this.
No, I really like this one. This one was really good too.
This one,
this one and last week were great.
Yeah, just crazy. How good. Kyle, I
Yeah.
assume you didn't watch, right?
No. I was too busy watching Nickelodeon the next month and going to Broadway.
Okay.
We're going to be on that ship too.
For not watching the Twilight Zone. Okay. I think this is a good place to end for tonight. You guys got anything else you want to talk about?
Well, after everyone gives their plugs here at the end, Jerry can sign off if he likes. But I want to ask JW to stay on for a little bit of a 10-minute teaser here, where I got the card up for both Saturday and Sunday for WrestleMania. We might give some predictions here back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know, Jerry. I don't know if you like wrestling, but we'll talk. We're going to talk a little wrestling really quick.
You can talk wrestling. I don't care.
You want to stay? You can stay. He's letting you go, but you can stay if you want to.
I'm hanging.
Okay, let's do our plugs. Jerry, have you gotten me I saw tickets. I saw
April 20th. April 20th, we're at the Moon Ballroom.
The
11
chance
bands.
to see Slapjaw and the chance to see Jerry live.
Slapjaw is on at 8:30.
8:30.
8:30 to 9 p.m.
11
and
bands.
There's 2 stages. They're going to have one at one end and one at the other. Half-hour sets.
What are the cost of these tickets?
$20.
$20. Can I ask a question? Would it be possible for next week's show, if we ask a trivia question early on in the show, would it be possible to give a pair of tickets away to somebody who's watching our show and might want to go to this?
Yeah, why not?
Sure. Okay. Kyle, what do you got going on?
Hunter comes home next Friday.
I know you guys have to be so excited. I'm so happy for you. I'm glad he's
not
doing
to the States, but actually to Pennsylvania.
Nice.
So I'm sure we're going to have to be running over to Jerry's house for more cookies.
There you go.
Probably.
Yeah, your cookies are here. I got to get them to you.
Jerry's knee deep in cookies right now.
Oh God, we still
My
have
stuff,
so many.
JW the Movie Guy on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Threads, on Blue Skies, and on X with or whatever the hell Crazy Pants is calling it this week. Also, next week we get into the heart of the matter on Generation Movie as we delve into something that I know Jerry likes, that I know everybody should like. Generation Movie, we start, and this is a true statement for everybody. This as we're getting ready to name a new Bond, it's been on the whisper that we're getting a new Bond soon. James Bond will return 007. We're doing Bondathon 2024. So here's how this works. Every year we do some Bond movies. Last year we ended up doing all the first Bond movies for these gentlemen: Sean Connery, George Lazenby, Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and Daniel Craig. It turns out we're going to do the third movie for all these guys, and it turns out some of them don't have third movies. George Lazenby, I'm looking at you. Also, Timothy Dalton only has two, so we're going to be doing the second Dalton film. We're going to be doing Goldfinger for Sean Connery. We're going to do The Spy Who Loved Me for Roger Moore, which has the greatest car ever. We're going to do License to Kill for Timothy Dalton. We're going to do Tomorrow Never Dies for Pierce Brosnan, and we are going to do Skyfall for Mr. Daniel Craig. So, Bondathon 2024. If you've never watched the Bond movie, it is a great time to get in. Lots of rumors that Aaron Taylor Johnson's going to take that Craven, character whip up and become Bond.
Hey, I have to say something real quick about this.
Sure.
The Spy Who Loved Me, the car, the Matchbox, I have it.
So do I.
Great.
The little white car, right? With
Yep.
the fins.
Yep. It's in my case over there.
I definitely have it. Who's in the running for the next Bond? Aaron Taylor Johnson is the one everybody's talking about. Cavill's been mentioned, but it's been Aaron Taylor Johnson. The kid who played Quicksilver in Avengers Age of Ultron. He also has been in a lot of stuff. He's also playing Craven the Hunter in a movie that absolutely looks completely fucking abysmal, coming from Sony in, I think, October. I think we get Craven and we get the last Venom movie on top of each other. Okay, so we're gonna let everybody go if you don't want to talk about this, but Kyle and I are working. We're working on it. We're talking about it, about doing a 20-minute roundup of wrestling stuff every week. I think we called it a 20-minute time limit. It's a throwback title that Kyle and I have worked on. So Kyle, do you have the card? Do you want to send me the card so I can?
I got the card in front of me.
Well, send it to me so I can put it up.
Oh, I don't got it on that. I just got a website up with all the matches listed.
Okay, so wait a second. Hold on. If you had told me this, I would have just put it up. I would have just.
Well, I didn't think of it until you were talking about Twilight Zone, and I needed something to do.
You could just watch the fucking show.
It's 20 minutes.
While you're talking about it?
Maybe. Okay, I can't do this. There's no. Hold on. WrestleMania card 40. So yeah, this is a nerd thing. If you are not a wrestling fan right now, I can't help you. But I'm gonna say, Kyle, would you say this has been one of the greatest build-ups to a WrestleMania? Are you enthused?
It's WrestleMania 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think when The Rock gets on television and says, "We're hot right now," that's a minor fucking understatement.
Even if they took some weird turns to get here, though.
They did, and I think that's one of the interesting things for. Okay, I'm looking at the card too. Where do you want to start? You want to start on Saturday? You got to start at the
Yes.
bottom of Saturday. So the first match I have on Saturday is Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair and Naomi versus Damage Control.
That one to me has got to be the Bianca, Jade Cargill, and Naomi team because it's Jade's first official match besides the Royal Rumble, and they need her to
So
look strong in her debut.
okay, so I think Cargill's going to look great. I also think there's a high likelihood that Cargill turns on Naomi and Bianca because the money match at WrestleMania 41 is Bianca Belair
Is
versus
Jade and Bianca.
Jade Cargill.
I just expect seeds to be planted here. I don't think it's going to be a turn yet.
You think it's seeds? Okay. I think it's a good match though. It's not one of the ones that I'm. It's not one of the ones I'm looking forward to. Next match I have on Saturday is Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Dominic and Santos. I think Dragon Lee have to go over. Mainly because Dominic should never be allowed to win a match at WrestleMania until he turns back face. So that's just my opinion on that one. I don't know that one's.
I think there's going to be a large underlying tone throughout the whole weekend of Judgment Day. And
this is the beginning of the end of Judgment Day. Judgment Day, because I think
the beginning of the end, but there's different things that got to happen, and I think Dominic beating his dad and Dominic kind of aligning with the LWO and pulling away from Judgment Day.
No, it wouldn't be the LWO. It'd be Legado del Fantasma. LWO is Ray, so it'd be Legado del Fantasma. Well, yeah, that's possible because there's our rumors that Dominic and Andrade and Santos are starting their own faction that will take over the Judgment Day. That's one of the rumors. Next match I have is Jey Uso versus Jimmy Uso. Of course, WWE broke kayfabe here, right? Because WWE said this is only the third match of brother between brother at WrestleMania, which means that the Undertaker versus Kane doesn't count, which pissed a lot of people off. Even though we all know that Kane is not actually the Undertaker's brother, there was never a funeral parlor. I know people need to hear this shit, but they were super pissed. The other matches, of course, that were famous brother matches. Owen and Brett is the classic. Is the greatest, one of the greatest brother matches. I think this is. I hope we don't get into a weird bloodline wins everything kind of weekend. If somehow Jay, who's yeeting it up and one of the hottest WWE superstars going right now, has a whole fucking crowd going crazy every time he comes into a ring, he somehow loses to Jimmy, I would not want to be Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins the rest of the weekend. That's just an opinion. If Jimmy beats Jay, fuck, it's gonna be a long fucking weekend.
I think it sets it up. I think Jay's winning to set it up for Jay going, y'all claim to be the bloodline, and I'm really the leader of this bloodline, and him going and then picking all solo and then going right up the ladder.
Interesting. The next match on Saturday, we have a six-pack ladder tag team championship. This match is a fucking mess. This is just to get everybody a paycheck. But we have Judgment Day versus DIY versus Awesome Truth versus The New Day versus A-Town Down Under and versus New Catch Republic. I'm going to be honest. This is for me, Kyle, I don't like gimmick matches right now, especially on WrestleMania weekend. I feel WrestleMania should be one-stop shopping. Also, if the Hardys don't somehow get involved in this ridiculousness because their contracts are up at AEW, the last
is up. I just isn't.
I don't know. I'm just saying. All I know is the last time the Hardys where their contracts were up, they showed up. I was at that WrestleMania with Nicholas, my nephew who passed. But I don't care about this match. Do you care about that? They've done a good job, but I don't care who wins. Like, I guess I would care if DIY wins, or if
we got a
or,
we got a random comment out of nowhere, son.
I'll give you a hearty. Hey, Paul Spratt. Okay, this is good. It's amazing. Let's see who else we've got. Interesting. Sammy beats Gunther. Interesting. I think that's true. And then I think Sammy loses
Oh.
to Priest. That's my guess. Orton turns on KO and Logan remains champ. Either one could
That's
turn on
Sunday
each
night.
other. We'll get there. Let's see. Love you guys. Great show. Thank you, Mama Kimura. Let's see. We'll see if he wants to come in, he can come in. I don't know that he likes
He wants to
WWE.
talk wrestling. More than welcome.
Intercontinental Championship, Gunther versus Sammy is
Well,
so
hold on.
I'm
We
gonna.
didn't finish the 6-pack.
Do
You didn't give
care?
a winner for the 6-pack.
Ah,
I think this is going to be part of the Judgment Day unraveling, and they're going to lose the title in this, and it's going to be to A-Town Down Under.
oh, I don't. Oh God, the only two teams I would care to see win the titles. I would like to see R-Truth win the title because it would be nice for him to get an
Yeah.
actual title. And the Miz, for me is also one of those people that I think everybody rags on, but in reality, in about 5 years, when he decides he's not going to wrestle anymore, dudes in tights weren't superheroes. Absolutely.
Dudes in short shorts with oil all over them. Hey.
I don't know. I think Judgment Day loses, but whatever. The reason I think they lose is because Gunther versus Sammy happens, and I think Sammy beats Gunther, and then I think Sammy loses immediately to Priest, who becomes the new Intercontinental Champion. That's my pick. That's what I'm going to say. And I don't think we talk enough about Gunther. I don't think we talk enough about Sammy. They're both having great runs. Gunther's run has been particularly spectacular and he's also flawless. Like,
I think with them erasing Brock, though, they kind of don't know what to do with Gunther for this. And I think he's retaining because I don't think Sammy was ever in the cards.
Very shiny, guys. Well, yeah, Kyle has the light on. I'm not. I'm in Florida. Everything's fine. Sammy doesn't win. I think he's almost done. I don't think he's done. Let's see. But I think Gunther is probably, I'm going to say this, I think he's probably my favorite wrestler right now. I love him. I think he's great. Women, but I think he should also be going for the World Championship at some point. Saturday night also brings us the Women's World Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Becky. I'm concerned because Rhea is sporting a cast, and she doesn't think it's a real injury. She said she's only wearing the cast to protect herself, but let's say she's really been injured and she's been walking around. She hasn't been wrestling much, if paying attention. And even in the scrums that have come from being headed to WrestleMania in a championship match, she's not really moving. I think Rhea is probably the best wrestler of her generation. Best female wrestler on the planet. I love Becky, but I don't, in reality, Becky shouldn't win. But if Rhea's injured, I could see them doing a swerve here and Becky wins.
I think if Becky wins, it's going to be further dismantlement of the Judgment Day with Dirty Dom thinking he's helping Mommy, and he ends up costing her the match.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so you're expecting a full Judgment Day implosion, a full everywhere, everywhere. Okay,
everywhere. Except until Sunday night.
WrestleMania's Saturday main event is what they are calling the greatest tag team match in WrestleMania history. I think that's interesting, but it could be crazy. But The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. So many places this could go. So many swerves. So many things. And I think it's a testament to how great the writing has been. Because I don't think anybody fucking knows what they're doing except Triple H. Paul Levesque knows exactly what he's doing, and whatever's happening, we know The Rock isn't going to be around after WrestleMania for a while. Maybe he can come back for SummerSlam. Maybe he can come back for other big events. But I think the better story here would be, I think Cody and Seth have to lose. I don't know that Seth has to betray Cody. I mean, it could happen because they are tight and they are the Shield. But I don't think that happens. I think you set up Sunday night's main event with as much pressure and weight and everything on Cody. I think he ends Saturday night in a clump, beaten, and I don't think he gets pinned. I think Seth gets pinned. I think Seth gets pinned, and I think it has something more to do with
Who is Roman never pinned?
Seth.
Who can The Rock pin on Saturday to have that for when he finally feuds with Roman?
Okay, so you think The Rock
If The Rock pins Seth. The Rock pins Seth on Saturday night.
Okay, I think that could happen. I think, what I would say the testament to this particular match and this particular build-up to this WrestleMania 40, this whole week, has been spectacular. Like, it's just been, it's been Attitude Era level fun. The Rock, acting full heel. Also, at some point, I know you're going to understand this. We're going to get to it in a moment, where I think all the shenanigans will lie. We'll move to Sunday night. Here is a match that nobody is talking about that I think could end up stealing the show. LA Knight versus AJ Styles. They both can wrestle. They're both good.
The next Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat match.
Yeah, I think it's a match that could steal the fucking show. And I think people are going to be talking about it. I'm just saying, let's see, what we got? Oh, do you guys talk about The Rock already? And is he going to be at WrestleMania? And do you think his return to wrestling was fixed and save his image?
And then he finished. He followed up with how you guys started talking literally after I started typing that. We started talking about The Rock, so we kind of already answered it for him.
Well, yeah, but a couple things. What image is he fixing? That image where he's one of the most bankable stars in the history of Hollywood, or what image are we fixing by going back to wrestling? And by the way, Paul, I love you, but he's getting paid $30 million for this run. It's been a 6-month run. He's getting paid more money than God to come back and do this run. So I don't think he's fixing an image. Whether or not his movies are doing well or whatever, he's fine. He's got Moana 2 he's got live action Moana, and he's got Moana 2. The Rock turns back to good guy. Haha, you guys literally started about right after I asked, laugh out loud. Well, we're going through the card.
Last comment.
Did answer the image thing. Let's see. His image was on aggressive down to a few flops. People were turning on him. I think the people turning on him are what? Vin Diesel? Who gives a fuck? Who cares?
Well, I think people turning on were just the Fast and the Furious crowd. But I mean, people loved him for the Spring Football League. And the amount of
he's doing fun.
The amount of people he got signed
image thing
from the XFL last year to the NFL, and image wise, that was over the top, positive PR for him.
He was becoming a diva and a franchise killer. Okay. Again, two things. What I would say. Okay. Hey, how we doing, Caio dos Santos? Aquí. They said he was one of the linchpins of the downfall of DC. Okay, so he got no fight at DC, but he's not the linchpin of the downfall of DC.
Actually, I would say DC was in a downward spiral before The Rock got there, and him injecting his ideas were trying to save it. He didn't help him, and his ideas didn't save it. But
he wasn't.
I think him going status quo is not going to work here.
That wasn't working. I think the biggest problem he caused was when he wanted Cavill back at the end of Black Adam, which is spoiler. But he's not the
Can we have
reason.
a sub? Can we have a sub podcast with Paul on here to go about DC and The Rock
Black
on
Adam.
another night?
So yeah, we could talk. Why don't we invite you next week? We can talk about Black Adam. Okay, let's get back to the card. I think LA Knight AJ Styles is going to steal the show. I think it's going to be a great match. LA Knight has to go over, and we have to get LA Knight back to where he was 3 months ago before everybody started showing.
LA Knight's winning this one.
I believe
AJ can eat the loss. LA Knight needs the win.
So Philadelphia Street Fight is the next match. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament. I don't give a fuck about this match. I don't care. I hate Karrion Kross. I like AOP, but I don't like this. Like what they've done with the Street Profits is a crime.
I never got the NXT Karrion Kross. I never got the NXT Karrion Kross entrance versus the Bray Wyatt WrestleMania entrance. I mean, that was what everything hinged on.
But I gotta come back and talk about all of the shit I've been right about. Oh, Jesus Christ. I miss you so much, Paul. I miss you so much, Paul, for being right that Ant-Man only grossed $500 million. It's a bomb. Okay, anyway.
Christ. Oh, my God. Here we go.
Anyway, I don't care
I'll bring the ketchup for you, JW. Don't worry.
I understand. Bobby Lashley and Street Profits versus Final Testament. That match can just
Final Testament needs to win because they just had no movement whatsoever.
Boring. Everybody's boring. Bobby Lashley's in a vacuum of charisma, and now they've made Karrion Kross and Scarlett vacuums of charisma. U.S. Championship match: Logan Paul versus Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. I don't know. I don't know.
I think Kevin has to win only because Logan Paul and Randy Orton aren't at every house show. Kevin Owens is, and that's like the Intercontinental Championship.
I think it'd be interesting. I think if you decided that you want to do Logan Paul versus Randy Orton, or you want to do KO versus Randy Orton, or whatever you want to do, this is a match. I don't like triple threats because I just want to. At WrestleMania, I'm a stickler for finishing fucking programs. So I hate triple threats at WrestleMania. I will say, Logan Paul is having quite. I don't like him as a person or whatever, but he's having quite a first year in the WWE. He's been impressive. Women's Championship on Sunday. This is what I'm talking about. Io Sky versus Bayley. I want matches where we finish vendettas and we start completely anew. And this will be Bayley finally ascending to the mountaintop, becoming women's champion again, and vanquishing her foes. As easy a pick on the card, correct?
I think so, which makes me wonder.
Logan Paul sucks. I got to tell you, Paul, from a wrestling perspective, he may suck as a human being, but from a wrestling perspective, he may be a wonderkind. He may be just naturally gifted in the ring because he has very
Did his
little.
brother fight Tyson yet?
No, I think that's
that
in
fight?
May. I think that's in May.
Okay.
I think that's a fight everybody wants. I want the 50-year-old to knock some teeth, but he doesn't.
That's going to be a joke.
It's going to be terrible, yes, but don't you want Tyson to win? I do. Next
well,
match,
everybody does, but it's a money thing.
World Heavyweight Championship: Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. I'm going to take Drew, and here's why I'm going to take Drew. Because I think we're going to get this storyline that Seth has put too much into other things and not focused. Also, this heel version persona of Drew has been fantastic. He's well written. It's the best he's ever been on screen. And at some point, CM Punk is going to return. And when he does, that's a match that is an
Who's at the commentators table for this match?
CM Punk.
So I'm saying Drew's going over for all the reasons you just said. And I think afterwards he's going to go down and get in CM Punk's face with that title. And CM Punk, while he's not cleared to wrestle, is going to lay him out. And this is when Judgment Day completely goes off the rails and Damian Priest cashes in and takes the title off of Drew McIntyre. So then Drew goes, I finally had my moment in front of the world
all these
in
people,
a
and you
live
stole
studio
it,
and got my title.
and you
And
stole
you
it.
stole it, and it's all CM Punk's fault, igniting that feud even more.
Oh, it's that feud is. They had. If you haven't seen it, folks, they had a tete-a-tete with 3 people on Monday Night Raw. It was Rollins, CM Punk, and McIntyre. It was one of the best promos I've ever seen. The greatest single line in any promo ever. Kyle, would you agree? Somebody said, "Do you want to know what I think about that?" Which CM Punk replied, "No." It's the first promo where I don't give a fuck what you're saying. And it was completely like it was into the microphone. He was talking to them. He hates them both. They theoretically both hate him, although behind the scenes, what I told you was going to happen has happened. There is money to be made. And when there is money to be made, we can make things work. Also, there's this little pesky business of completely putting AEW out of business. Because this WrestleMania, like AEW is going to be like, oh, we had 3,000 at our house show. Great. Because, this WrestleMania is going to, I think they put up a graphic on SmackDown or Raw this week. I think it was Raw. This is the 13th consecutive sellout of a building in this lead up to WrestleMania. They are on a run. It is going to be incredible. And CM Punk, I know you were scared about CM Punk, but I was right? You think things are going well behind the scenes. He's helpful. He's helping people. Him and Rollins buried the hatchet.
He's helpful while he's injured.
Well, I mean, Drew works the heel angle well, always did, but he's never been this. He's never been this focused. He's very focused. It's the best he's ever been. Also, apparently the rules of the fight are only win can be from a knockout. I want to see nice and I want to see. Everybody wants to see him knock him out. Okay. Sunday night, the final match, WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes, in what I will say will definitely be bloodline rules. You don't think Cody's going to win, correct?
If The Rock gets the pin on Seth on Saturday, I think Cody does win on Sunday. So then when SummerSlam comes around, you could have Rock versus Roman with no title involved. So it doesn't matter the winner outcome, but you can use The Rock saying, I beat the only man you couldn't in Seth Rollins.
Okay, can I ask a question? How much shenanigans in this match? It's bloodline rules, which means there are no rules. How much shenanigans? How many Hall of Famers in this match, Kyle? Because I'll tell you one thing I was thinking. So it's going to be bloodline rules, which means it's everyone and their brother can show up for the bloodline. I envision a world where Cody Rhodes has Jimmy Uso or Jey Uso. I envision a world where my world has The Rock proclaiming he's final boss, and then all of a sudden glass breaking. Like my world, that's what I would like to see. Dustin is under contract. Dustin can't show up. He's under contract. I haven't watched wrestling in 20 years. Good night, gentlemen. Joe, you're missing it. It's been it's been one of, good night, but it's been one of the greatest things. I just think there's
Hall of Famers. 2 Hall of Famers that are getting inducted that weekend. The U.S. Express, the Rotundas. A lot of history with Cody's old man.
Maybe I don't think them though. I think more like I'm thinking if you have the bloodline, you need actual, like, you need actual firepower. I'm gonna say Austin. I'm gonna
How
say
many? Well,
I'm gonna say Mark Calloway. I'm gonna like
no, no. You want? No.
any number of John
I just
Cena.
thought of it. How many people in those interviews with NXT and everything claim to be Dusty's kid? Because Dusty took him under his wing in NXT.
That's
If you
every.
just see a locker room empty out with T-shirts that just say Dusty's kid on them, all back Cody Rhodes against the Bloodline to
I
finish
could
the
I'm out,
not.
story.
fellas.
That's. I just think it's. I think it's going to be one of those things. But
Good night.
it is. It is going to be one of the greatest. Good
Is it,
night. You
Jerry?
take care, Jerry. It is going to be one of the. We got to go. We're at hour 46. I will say it's going to be one of the best WrestleManias ever. Also, if you haven't watched it yet, Bray Wyatt becoming immortal on Peacock. Have you watched?
I haven't yet, but I heard about the lantern scene at the end.
Lantern scene at the end is fantastic, but it's one of the there's so many sad
Fine,
things
Sean.
we didn't
We like your
didn't
soap
know.
opera, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Isn't it fake like a soap opera? Yes, but it's not fake. I would say it's athletic and scripted. Athletic and scripted, kids. But this is a good place to end. Thank you for joining us. WrestleMania 40's this weekend. Don't send me anything on Saturday or Sunday. I'll be busy. Just watching, getting my wrestling.
So that means by Friday he's got to watch Twilight Zone this week, folks. Plus
No,
the new movies that
I
come
have
out. This
I have Monday. The new movies coming out aren't great, so I'm not worried about it. First Omen, who gives a fuck? Does anybody care? I want to see Monkey Man, but I can wait. So have a great weekend. Lots of stuff. Stay out of trouble. Bye.
I'm sure we'll be texting back and forth. Bye.
We will. Bye.
Bye. We're still live.